This is round two of the same story. Daniel Schwartz here from Sweet Home Farms. In the first video, I was talking about why I'm doing so much construction and posting construction videos when I had wanted this to be a homestead channel. Well, sometimes that's just what happens. My wife and I, we got married. We were on the home farm. The old property never really was a profitable farm. We had a bunch of animals that didn't, we just fed them and we weren't making a profit. It wasn't managed to make a profit. We just had the animals. We did some butchering, but nobody kept paperwork as far as what they cost us and stuff. And until I come along and I started getting tired of not having enough money, and I started keeping the paperwork on the animals, realized how many thousands of dollars were just going down the hole that we weren't seeing any benefit from. And I had no clue how to fix it at the moment. Well, I had taken over before we got married, so let's say I was running this operation for 12 years. And I had to make a lot of changes, and they were slow because at the time I was trying to work with other family members involved, and I couldn't make too big of changes without getting people upset because I was doing things different than how they had always been done. But slowly over the years I just kept changing it, and then as we got married and nobody else actually had it wasn't their property, it wasn't their interest, it wasn't my property either, but I was given the management role, given the freedom to do it. And so I just kept making changes until people quit trying to talk me into not doing what I was doing. And then just trying to do all this was raising a family, and my wife and I together did it for 10 years, and it was successful. And this was the year that we were going to be doing well enough to where we can I was going to buy a new breeding bowl, and we were just going to take off, and I was so excited. Then the trouble came. I'm not going to name any names here. I'm not going to tell you guys the full story because that would mean I have to talk bad about the other people involved, make them sound bad. Might make me sound bad too in some spots. But the short story is that we were always planning on taking over the old property and buying it from my mother. And it was 10 years in, we had nothing permanent set up, and some trouble started popping up. Other people started getting involved, so I just finally told myself, my wife and I talked about it, and we were like, we gotta get, there's I guess we were starting to see some smoke, but we didn't realize how big the fire was underneath all that smoke. So we're like, what, we're gonna just insist on some kind of contract. We can't continue to do what we're doing without something wrote down for permanency, because there's a whole lot of complications here. If we just keep doing this for another 10 years and then things go bad, then that's going to be 20 years of our life just sunk into something that's not ours. And so, but it wouldn't all be, you still got your animals, your equipment, some fences and stuff. But we decided to push the issue and say, hey, we got to have an answer. We need to know if this is going to be permanent for us or not. We got to have an answer. We need to know, we want a contract, even if it's just a rental contract. We need to know right now if this is something we're still doing or not. So, want a rental contract, or there's complications to selling the property, and I wanted the homeowner to figure out those complications before we even started trying to get into the process of buying the property. And since we insisted, everything went south, and we told ourselves we're not going to fight over anything if fusses start to happen. So we are stepping aside. Luckily, we had the inside about 5 years ago. We got the chance at 20 acres it's an adjoining property. So my wife and I were like, that'd be great to own something of our own so that some of our money is going into building equity. Hey, gooseberries. It's always good. So some of our money is going to be going into building equity for ourselves and not just being sunk into property that we don't own. So that was a very wise decision, and I think it was inspired by the Lord, I'm hoping. Ended up, this trouble hit. We still had about half of this. We had money saved to expand our farm operations, but about half of this 20 acres I'm walking around on right now was paid off. We had about it was over half. We're like, okay, we're just going to pay it off because this was in a land contract, and we didn't want to start operations until it was paid for. Because land contracts, even though the people we're dealing with are amazing, they're not as set in stone as you would like. If you, for some reason, your relationship with that person on a rent-to-own kind of thing would go south, they could come up with an excuse to potentially nullify the deal. So we decided before we do anything, we wouldn't go all in. We're just going to pay it off. So we took the money we had saved, paid off the 20 acres, free and clear hours, and now we're going to buy a cheap trailer house, move in, and we're going to start all over. So this was the year, when I started this channel, this was the year that we were going to just go all in on our homestead dream and work less construction, be home more. I'm still going to have to mix construction in, but I can make really good money for 3 weeks, and I could be home for 3 weeks or whatever, depending on how much money we need. I could line up more construction. And the kids are getting old enough now that they can do a lot of help. I don't expect them to work like grown-ups, that's bullshit at their age, but they can help a lot. And then if things get a little tight and dad's got to go make more money, they can do a little more for a little while. But I'm not a believer in working the kids too hard continually. There's some cultures and families who do that, and it's a shame. A lot of modern day farms, small farms, the only reason they're still making it is because they got a few kids that work for free. And that's not right to do that to your kids. You can be like, I raised you, by George, you can pay me back. What? That's bullshit. You shouldn't treat your kids like slaves. You decided to bring that kid into the world. Now, should they help around with your everyday house chores, yard chores, the kids should be involved because they live there. But if you're doing a for-profit enterprise and you have your kids working it for free, that's the only way you can make ends meet, is to have your kids, I'm talking like teenagers, that are they're working probably working harder than any grown man you could hire because they're working for dad, and they're trying to make things go for their family. I shouldn't get down this rabbit hole. That's a whole nother video. So we'll stop that right there, talking about kids and the labor and everything. But I think if you're going to have kids, I know it's the right thing to do. If you are going to have your kids working on your operation, they need to be fairly compensated. Now, you could figure out you got free housing, you got free this, you got free that. So I'm probably not going to pay you what I would if I just hired somebody, because I'm paying for your lodging and your food, but they should be paid fairly for what they're doing. Not just work their butt off and get to live somewhere for free. They got no way of getting ahead like that. They're stuck unless they go work for somebody else. Anyway, so I wasn't going to talk more about that. I'm going to have to end this video. I don't like making them over 10 minutes because it takes forever to upload on my phone. I got to gather my thoughts and get back on track. See you in the next one.